Can you hit stuff with your pistol? That's what this video is about. I'm here to help you to be accurate with a handgun. We'll shoot 9mm and we'll shoot some 22s, and I'll go through my basics and my techniques of how I hit stuff with pistols. I've been asked to make this video for about a decade. Finally getting around to it. So it's just basic pistol shooting by Nutnfancy. Mrs Nutnfancy is my camera woman. Say hello.
Hello.
You'll see her shooting as well. This is a 9mm semi-automatic CZ P10C compact, a great pistol. You might see it in action. Now in this video, we're going to do it pretty organic. It's going to be in field. As we shoot, we'll talk. I'm going to cover the stuff that you need to know as a new pistol shooter. Now there's a lot of information out there on the web, a lot. I'm not really sure you need my video, but again, so many people have asked me to make this video, I got to do it. I'm not trying to repeat any other techniques. I'm just going to show you what I do, what I instruct new pistol shooters to do. And I think at the end of this, at 7 yards standing unsupported, you should be able to put every single round into an 8-9 inch circle. And we have some targets right there drawn up. They look like tits. Just happened that way. Just happened that way. Mrs. is cool with it. Aren't you cool with it?
Sure.
So let's get going. In field. The first thing I want to reiterate and stress is safety, safety, safety. That's probably a different video. But as you handle your gun as a new pistol shooter, understand that it is a weapon. It can be dangerous, just like any other tool, if you handle it carelessly. You always want to point it in a safe direction. You always want to treat it as if it was loaded. Keep your finger off the trigger until you're ready to shoot. Never point it at people unless they are bad people trying to do bad things and you have exhausted all other means of escaping. I talk about this in a lot of other videos. Be sure of your backstop. So if you're going to even dry fire, you need to make sure you have a very good backstop. So if you're in an apartment complex, I wouldn't recommend you even dry fire there. Because if you were to make a mistake, if you were to send a round through that wall into your neighbor's place, that would be bad. So safety, safety, safety. You'll see as I shoot, between strings, my finger will come out of the trigger guard, especially for a striker fired pistol, just like that one I showed you. It'll come up and rest alongside the frame. I would like you to do the same thing. When you're not shooting, especially if the gun does not have a built-in safety, bring that. I'm going to show you what I'm talking about. So after I'm done firing, I'm going to come up like this. That way I'm not coming in here in the trigger guard and resting my finger on the trigger. That's a no-no. We don't want to do that. So that's safety, safety, safety. Let me see if I forgot anything. Nope. Did everything on that. Again, that might be a different video, safety stuff. If you were to look in your owner's manual for that handgun you just purchased, chances are at the first few pages, they're going to repeat everything I just said and a lot more. That's all good to review if you're a new handgun owner, and it's really good for everyone to always do. But as a new handgun owner, you're learning, you're developing habits. That's another thing I want to stress in this shooting video here in field, is I want you to be very consistent how you shoot your handgun. Your grip's going to be consistent, your trigger placement's going to be consistent, you're going to be used to aligning the sights the same way, standing pretty much the same way. Consistency is your friend, so you want to be consistent as you shoot your handgun. And I'll try to demo that and maybe show you a couple mistakes along the way as well. Now, I'm going to cover this. I'm going to talk about stance, grip, sight alignment, trigger control, and again, I'm going to underline and underscore consistency. Again, this is just how I do it. There could be some variances with other instructors out there, and they have their own way of teaching. One thing I found, at least pertaining to new gun owners, which might be you, is a lot of that instruction is very confusing. They use a lot of technical terms, and so the shooter's on the line trying to remember all these technical terms and trying to get all these other things I just mentioned down, and it's a lot. I'm not going to do that in this video. I'm going to keep it super simple. I'm going to just talk about the basics. I don't care if you remember the names of stances like weavers, weaver stance, modified weaver, isosceles, forget all about that stuff. I'm just going to tell you how you should start as a pistol shooter. Now, this video is not intended to turn you into a combat master handgunner. That takes thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars of ammunition and a lot of practice, hundreds of hours. I'm not intending to do that with this video. I only want you to be able to get all your rounds into those circles at 7 yards. 7 yards is what I'd like you to do. Can you do it now? Chances are, I would say over half of the audience watching this, new pistol people, probably could. You just have an intrinsic built-in understanding of how to shoot a handgun. Believe it or not, if you played guns growing up, you played airsoft, you played with BB guns, a lot of those mechanics can translate over to real handgunning. But we're going to kind of put that off on the side, going to start afresh and assume you don't know anything about how to make those bullets go into that circle. First thing we're going to talk about is stance. Now, I've got a bunch of mud out here today. We're on private property, so we can do whatever we want out here. Show my stance right here, Mrs. Nutton. So when I shoot, I'm right-handed. What I want to do is put my strong side just a little bit back. And why I'm doing that is because it's going to give you more stability when it recoils. Now, you may be shooting a gun that recoils a lot, maybe very little. It just depends. But it's a good way to be consistent. Here's what I don't want to do. I don't want to square up to the target and put myself back on my heels. Do you see that? So when I recoil, my heels come back. I really don't have any stability. Now, I would assume a lot of you guys and girls watching this video have purchased a handgun for self-defense. Thumbs up from the Nutnfancy project to you. Join the NRA, be politically active. There's a lot of well-financed forces that want to take those guns from you, by the way. But since you have a mindset of self-defense, this stance is even more important. Because let's say you're shooting and dude comes into you. If I'm on my heels straight up to the target, how much stability do I have? None. But if I kind of turn at a 45 degree or maybe 30, 45, you experiment with what is good for you, strong side, now I've got more stability. So if someone comes into me, I can actually absorb that and use my pistol, heaven forbid, to get that threat away to stop the threat. This is what I want you to do. You experiment with what's good for you though. So maybe for you, this angle's good. Maybe for some others, a steeper angle will be good. Depending on the terrain, I personally will vary it. So in this bumpy terrain, we're not on level ground here, generally I'll put that rear foot further back. Okay, and so it'll be more like this. So that way I get more stability. That's stance. And again, don't flatten up like this. Okay? That's all you need to know. We're not going to talk about names in this stuff at all. Now, the next thing I want to cover before we start shooting is grip. Grip, we could basically write a book on of how to grip your pistol, but this is what I want to teach you guys. So again, this is a medium-sized 9mm pistol. The first thing I want to teach you new pistol people is don't do this. Don't hold down on the grip where there's air right here. See that? See this portion right here under the trigger guard? Most combat pistols and a lot of 22 pistols are undercut there and like that for a reason. And that's so you have a high grip. So we're going to push our hand up here. We don't want our fingers splayed apart where we see air like that. We're going to push our fingers together and just worry about those 3 fingers to start with, okay? Then we're going to take our thumb and we're going to drive the web of our hand up into the back portion of the frame of the gun, the back strap here, like this. We don't want to see this. This is not what we want. Air's here, bad. We want to come up on the gun and hold it high. The reason we want to do that is because when the gun recoils, the higher up we are on the gun, the quicker we can get a follow-up shot. Okay, so it goes bang, we come back and we have that gun low in our hands, so it's quicker for us to do a follow-up shot, and it just results in better accuracy and more control. Again, for a review, I don't want to see this. Don't do that, and you'll see a lot of new shooters start doing that. And the command for you range officers would be no air. That's what I tell my shooters. So scooch up, get up there, and that's your strong hand. So I'm right-handed, and that's how I shoot. Now, a lot of guys will come up here, and this is a great way to shoot. They'll come up, they'll grasp this hand, and again, they're not splaying their fingers out like that. They're closing these fingers, they're wrapping it around like that, and then they're making their thumbs parallel. You'll see a lot of shooters shooting that way, and it is a great technique that you can shoot that way. You can come up under the handguard like that, but notice I'm not doing this. I'm not crossing my thumbs. We don't want to cross our thumbs because that's not consistent. It can put a different pressure on the pistol, and in a lot of ways, pressures on a pistol is going to determine how you shoot it. So if I have a lot of weird pressures on my handgun, chances are I'm going to be flinging my shots all over the place. So what I recommend is you experiment with this one first. Thumbs parallel, I'm high, there's no air, and how hard do I squeeze the gun? A lot of different schools of thought. I don't squeeze too tight. It's medium pressure. Medium pressure, because you want to be comfortable and you might be in this position for a while. So just relax, okay? And get in a position you could hold for some time. Now, when I shoot a gun, here's what you're going to see me do. I have large sized hands. A lot of the pistols I shoot, like this beautiful CZ P10C, have a squared off trigger guard. Since I have large hands, you'll see me do this. I'll actually come back here and hold the front of the trigger guard with my offside index finger. Now, some guys have real heartache when they see me shoot this way. The bottom line on all these techniques is this. If you hit good, you hit consistently with whatever technique you're shooting, you're doing it right. You guys hear me? So whatever technique you have, if you can hit consistently and well with that technique, thumbs up. For me, that's how I shoot. I've shot that way since the 1980s. I shoot really good that way. Pretty much everybody I go against in accuracy competition, I will dominate using that technique. Again, I have large size hands. If you have small size hands, you're a female shooter, I don't recommend you even try that. Just do what we talked about right off the bat. Okay, there's your grip. Now, you're gonna have Mrs Nutnfancy demo some 22 pistol shooting for you guys, and we'll talk about those fundamentals again. That's grip. The next thing I want to talk about is sight alignment. Okay, now sight alignment means, how do I, use these sights? Where do I put what? Well, you have a front sight blade. In most pistols, you'll have a notch. So you're going to put that notch even with the top of the rear sight blade. Okay, that's your sight alignment. And then for me, I put that directly underneath what I want to hit. So you see those black dots right there? I would be aiming directly beneath those black dots, keeping the front sight blade in the rear sight notch, and it's level with the top. And if I can find a graphic, I'll show you. I'm sure there's a lot out there. Now, your eyes cannot focus on everything at once. So you're going to have to figure out what you're going to focus on. Am I going to focus on the target, the front sight, or the rear sight? Almost always you want to focus on the front sight. And go ahead and let that target blur out on you. Peripherally, if I can speak, you'll be able to see that. Your front sight is everything with a handgun. It's going to basically determine where the rounds go. So we're always going to practice that front sight and put it right where we need to. And that's sight alignment, down and dirty. Now, there's a bunch of different sighting options out there. There's sights that have like a U-notch. There's sights that have like a circle in the back. Almost all will have a front blade. The blade might be different, like in a Steyr pistol, it'll be kind of a triangle. The concept is the same. We're going to have equal air between our front sight blade and the notch. You want it to be equal. Okay? And we are talking about, in this whole video, high accuracy shooting. We're not really talking about speed shooting. We're not talking about combat shooting. Again, to remind the audience, what we're talking about is being able to put the rounds in that circle pretty much at the distance we're at. Actually, we're further than 7 yards right now. 5 to 7 yards, I want all your rounds to go in that circle. And for that, you're going to need the sights. As you get more experience and a lot more shooting time, a lot more rounds sent down range, you can employ different techniques to get faster And actually, just looking at your front sight, you're not doing much more than that. And there's a lot of combat guys like Rob Latham that are excellent at that. We're not talking about that. Now, along with sight alignment, we've talked about our grip, so we're gripping right. We know how to align our sights. The next thing I want you to know about as a new pistol shooter, and this will translate to any type of firearm you shoot, is breathing. You want to breathe and just relax. You want to do that for everything you do in life. Whether you're racing cars, you're jumping out of airplanes, you're strafing in your F-16 CJ, or you're shooting a combat pistol. The better you relax, the better you're going to be. The way we're going to relax ourselves is by breathing. I've modeled this in the Nutnfancy project for well over, 14 years now. When we go drills in the desert, sometimes we're shooting at long distances, and I've just finished sprinting. So I'm running, my heart rate's up, my stress level is up, and the way I control that is like this. And I just breathe out that stress, and I just kind of relax. I want you to do the same thing when you're pistol shooting. Now, you can do it in some different ways. If I'm going for a high accuracy shot, I'm going to breathe in, exhale about halfway out, hold my breath. That's what I want you to do for this target shooting. Once again, we're going to breathe in, halfway out, hold our breath, then we get on the trigger and we're going to make the shot. Again, you can apply that to all types of different shooting scenarios, but what we're learning here, pistol, very, very fundamental to a lot of other stuff we may talk about in the future. The next thing I'm going to talk about is trigger control. This is paramount for you to be a good shot with your pistol, knowing how to manipulate the trigger. And this is where a lot of people screw things up. They may have a good grip, they may have great sight alignment, they may even have some good breathing, but when it comes to the trigger, maybe they're screwing it up. I'm going to demonstrate with this pistol. It is loaded, so I'm going to unload it. Safety check. Again, we've got that good backstop. That is a safe direction. So I'm going to dry fire, okay? And when I pull the trigger, I want to pull it, let me show you in this way. So we're not really going to show you while I'm aiming at the target. I'm going to pull it so slow when I first start out pistol shooting that the shot is a surprise to me. Watch my finger. That's how I want you to pull it. And the gun will recoil. Release the trigger. Don't worry about reset now. We'll talk about that later. And pull again. The gun recoils. We slowly release the trigger. Like that. A lot of new pistol folks and even a lot of experienced pistol people will do this. They're either anticipating recoil, they're anticipating a flinch, and they kind of do a quick spread. A quick squeeze on the trigger. Notice my muzzle when I do that. I'm exaggerating it for effect, but we're kind of throwing our muzzle off. If we have bad trigger manipulation, it's almost impossible to get a really good group with our pistol. The first thing I want you to do before you even fire is to get that safe backdrop, safe direction, and you're going to dry fire your pistol. Now maybe it's something like this. Maybe it's a Glock, a CZ, a Hellcat, a P365. I'm talking about a semi-automatic striker fired pistol. You can do this as well with a revolver, like a Taurus 856, a Smith & Wesson. I recommend for those you put snap caps in them to just protect the gun, especially if it's an older one. What I want you to do is practice dry firing even before you shoot your first shots. And again, this is what I do with new pistol shooters. I'll take them out to a place like this and they're thinking, hey, I want to start shooting immediately. I'm like, no, you're going to start dry firing. Come over on this side, hun, and I'll kind of duck down, and I want them to see kind of my sights as I'm looking down that. So what I'm doing, I'm crouching a little bit so Mrs. Nutton, who's basically 4.5 feet tall, can film me, is I'm looking at my sight while I maintain a good grip, while I maintain sight alignment, while I pull the trigger properly, and while I control my breathing. And I'm looking at my front sight as I pull the trigger. If you're ready for live rounds, you won't see that front sight move that much. You're always going to see it bobble a little bit. It's impossible to hold it completely steady. Consider it kind of like you're a circle. The front sight's going to go in a circle all the time. What we want to do is make that circle very small with good fundamentals that we've been discussing. We don't want to have this. We don't have a big circle, you know, if we're holding it wrong and we're just kind of doing this. It's going to be hard to get those rounds in that circle. We want to have that circle small, okay? So I'm going to dry fire and I'm just going to look at my front sight. Now, real quickly, I want to mention your dominant eye. You can look up online how to determine your dominant eye. I don't want to spend time on this. I shoot with both my left eye and my right eye. I'm left eye dominant and I'm right-handed. So not to confuse you, but that's called cross eye dominant. I have become used to shooting with my right eye even though it's not dominant. Experiment while you shoot, experiment while you dry fire, and just figure out what's comfortable for you. Try to be consistent on how you do it. One thing I didn't mention yet is what are we going to do with our arms? So our arms like this? Well, there's a whole another instruction that we'd have to give. We're talking about close-in pistol use against bad guys. We're not talking about this. We're talking about target shooting at the distance we've talked about. What I do is if I can come out like this and almost straighten my right arm, but there's a slight bend in my right arm, and then I have my good grip, that's what works for me. And that's how you see me shoot on camera for years and years. Not the only way you can do it. You can have more bend if you want. You can come out straight like that. The only problem with having it completely straight is when you do recoil, you don't want this moment arm flinging up like this. You want to have kind of a built-in shock absorber with a slight bend in there. Now, I talked about stance with the feet. One thing I forgot to mention is, what do I do with my body? Do I lean forward? Do I go straight up? Do I lean back? You definitely don't want to lean back. You don't want to be like this. That's how you can tell oftentimes a new shooter. They're kind of like that. Maybe they're anticipating recoil, they're anticipating the noise. They're kind of like this, like, ah! You can go straight up, that's okay. What I would like you to do is lean in slightly. Lean in slightly like this, so you're about like that, okay? Don't be like this, really hunched over like that. I've always made fun of that. And there were videos, instructional videos, years and years on YouTube, showing that people should shoot like this. And I saw everybody coming out to shoot with me. I could tell which videos they watched, because they're like this. Like this stupid stance like that. And I'm not saying it can't work. It's a lot of work and it's uncomfortable for the human body to be in that position. I'm just telling you. That's the way I see it. I would say, as far as your body position, we already talked about our feet. We're gonna be straight up, slightly forward. Slightly forward like that, okay? That's what we're gonna do. So we've dry fired. We've been watching our front sight. We said to ourselves, you know what? My front sight is doing pretty good. I'm staying pretty close to that dot. Let's go ahead and load this gun and we'll send a couple rounds down range. We'll see how I do. Hearing protection on, eye protection on, safe backdrop. Here we go, first shots. Good grip, good sight alignment, reducing stress, upper right. All right, missus, let's go check it out. Okay, so that's probably 8 yards standing. That's not too bad. Good group. One kind of came high on me, and you're going to see that too with your shooting. Don't get discouraged. Don't say, oh my gosh, I didn't get them like all in the very tight area. I suck. Listen, as a new pistol shooter, which I'm not, I'm very experienced. If you get all the rounds in this area, you are doing good. You're doing good. They will tighten up as you get more experience and you keep applying the basics of this video. Rewatch the video over and over again, practice integrating everything I talked about, and you watch what happens to your groups. Maybe initially you have a couple near the center, maybe they're over here, but they'll tighten up as you get more consistent. You work on that grip, you really focus on your front sight, and you really slowly pull that trigger. Okay, guess who's up? Mrs Nutnfancy. Now, Mrs Nutnfancy, who has been my bride for 35 years, is not some pistolero, are you?
No.
So in a lot of ways, especially for the women watching, she's a great analog. Okay, she shoots, if we're lucky, once a month. Right about there, hon. Okay, flip around. Another thing I want you guys to do is square up to your target. Don't shoot at an angle. So a little bit more left, hon. Also, you guys don't have to shoot out of doors like we're doing here. It's a-okay for you to shoot at the range like this. I would like you to start at no further than 5 yards. In fact, hon, I think you're further than 5 yards. One big step forward, right about there. This is the distance I want you to shoot at. Let me pace it off to make sure I'm okay. Muzzle up as I go down range. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Another step forward, big step forward. So I think I was shooting more at like 9 yards with that last one. There you go. Okay, so this is where I want you guys to train. Don't feel like you have to send the target way down. Quite the opposite. You're going to train right here, 5 yards. Almost all your shooting as a new pistol shooter should be at 5 yards. Okay, Mrs. Nutton, you're up. Give me 5 shots on the tit. Is it okay if I say tit? Is that okay with you?
Sure, whatever you want to call it. Where did you say which one?
Whichever one you want. Tell us which one you're shooting at.
Yeah, the bottom right.
Bottom right. 5 shots. Nice. Good job.
Crap.
One more. Excellent. Okay, safe direction. Notice we're aiming our gun safe. Her fingers off the trigger guard. Put it right high up, hon. Just like this, so we can make sure that's safe. There you go. That's what I want to see. Let's go forward and check your results. Well done. Look at Mrs. Nutnfancy. She had one come out.
Because
why?
Got anxious. Like.
Oh, you're anticipating it?
Yeah.
Nice.
That's why.
Well, that's normal. What did you do after? Did you realize what you did and you said, next shot I'm going to correct it?
Yeah.
What did you do then? What did you say to yourself?
Nothing.
You just go, I know what I did.
I just took a breath and held.
And just relax a little bit.
Let it go.
Good. That's really good shooting. Give me 5 more shots, same target. We probably have around 5 in there, I think. Okay, yeah, right there. Now notice Mrs. Nutnfancy is shooting with gloves. She does that because she's super cold out here. I recommend you new shooters do not shoot with gloves as you start out. Go ahead. Good. And we're out.
Done.
Okay, I'm gonna have you transfer to a different gun. How about we do this? We're gonna transfer to a Walther PDP. We're gonna transfer to a Walther PDP. Mrs. Nutnfancy loves this gun. She loves it. True or false?
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead. So give me a lower left target. We're gonna start all over. We're gonna notice her stance is kind of like mine on uneven. Hold on, hun. On uneven terrain, notice how she's pretty deep with that back strong side foot. That's what I do myself. Notice that she's going to lean slightly forward. She has a tendency to lean backwards that I have to correct her on. Let's check out her grip. Very good. I like her grip. Doesn't matter if these are perfectly parallel to each other. Doesn't matter. She's high. You might go higher on that, hun.
I can't.
Because your hands are too small?
Yeah, well the glove's right there.
Gotcha.
Right there.
Okay.
And there.
Good enough. All right, you're up. 5 shots, lower left. Mrs. Nutnfancy, Walther PDP. Good. Good. Good job, hun. Okay, take over the camera.
Shooting low.
I'm gonna take a shot at it. I'm gonna shoot your same target. I'm gonna come high grip, wrap my fingers. Look at that, nice control. Finger alongside the slide or the frame till I'm ready to shoot. I come here, and this time I'm gonna shoot in a standard way. I'm not curling my finger, I'm gonna shoot like most people do, just like this. So lower left, I'll go for that bullseye. You ready, hun?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Okay, let's check it out. So that's 5 shots into the bullseye with a Walther using the fundamentals I talked about. Mrs Nutnfancy did a great job. These are her 5 shots. Awesome. Awesome, awesome. How do you like this gun, by the way?
I like it.
It's cool, huh?
Yep. I like the first one too, though.
Yeah, it's
like
really nice. The P10 is outstanding. Okay, Mrs Nutnfancy is gonna try on this one with a Walther again to get a little bit closer to that black.
Okay.
Let's check our rounds. We've got 7 + 1, 8 rounds. All right, we made a mistake and forgot to put Mrs Nutnfancy's eye protection on. Our bad, but she is now wearing eye protection. Okay, our fault. We're not perfect.
Right.
We try. Okay, here we go. Let's check out her grip. Let's check out her stance. How's your breathing, Mrs.?
It's good.
Do you breathe out and then hold it when you're pulling the trigger?
I breathe in and kind of hold it.
So you don't exhale at all when you do it then?
Not really.
Try that.
Maybe
so breathe in.
Maybe only slightly.
Breathe in, breathe out halfway, and then hold it, and then pull the trigger. Always relax through breathing. Oh, nice. Good job.
I got it right in the middle.
Oh, dead bullseye on that one.
Oh.
Don't flinch.
Yeah.
2 more shots. Oh my gosh, dead bullseye. Awesome. All right. How do you feel about that group though?
Pretty good.
It's just that one, right?
That one.
Okay. So
not too great.
here's
It's in the
range
circle, but it's
officer
low.
ensuring consistency. Let's put that finger right there, okay? And range officers, when you watch this video, gently and nicely correct your shooters, but don't make the shooting fun for them. Don't get on them, don't yell at them. Just say, hey, let's do this, and always a safe direction, and make the shooting experience fun for your shooter. Okay, let's check it out. Oh my goodness, I see improvement. Improvement. So this is Mrs Nutnfancy's group before, and that was good. Don't laugh, that's a good group. Standing unsupported. This is her group now. You just had 1 drop, but look at this. 1, 2, 3, 4. Right at the bulls.
I did 5.
Yeah, you did 5, but I'm counting the 4.
Oh,
they were really
gotcha.
tight, and this one's still in the circle, so it's good. High 5. Low 5. Middle 5. Come on, hurry. In the middle. Too slow. Okay. All right, on to 22s we go. We're going to talk about all the fundamentals once more, and then we're going to wrap it up, and we'll be done. Nutnfancy project, shooting in field. How to be a decent pistol shot with whatever type of pistol you choose to shoot with Mrs Nutnfancy. All right, we kind of did this backwards, right?
Sure.
We should have started off shooting 22 pistols for this video. We got carried away and started off with 9mm. Center fire, semi-automatic, striker fired pistols, which was fun, but we should have modeled it better for you, the new shooter. We would like you to start off with a 22 pistol. They recoil less, some of them are less loud, and they're just easier to shoot with. Would you agree, Mrs Nutnfancy?
Yes.
Watch how little this FN 502 recoils, for instance. Now this is a semi-automatic, blowback operated 22 pistol that does have a safety. So you're going to see Mrs Nutnfancy manipulate this safety. And when she's done firing, guess who's going to remind her to put the safety on? I am. She should do it on her own, but the range officer will remind them. So, nice gun here. Watch for my review. If you want to know a good 22 pistol, just type in Nutnfancy 22 pistol review in YouTube. 5 shots, whatever target you want, Mrs Nutnfancy. Safety on, finger off trigger, safe direction. Nice. What do you think about that versus a center fire gun, hun?
It's easy. This one's easy.
Easy. Does that trigger kind of take you by surprise when you're
I like that.
coming off the center fire handguns?
Yep.
Keep firing.
Okay, so this is what she did.
It's very smooth. I got one exactly on the black. That's awesome.
Did you?
I
Awesome.
did. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Okay, give me 5 more in the black. Let's look at her stance. Let's look at her grip. Good. And she's in charge of her sight alignment and breathing. Notice she put the safety off, new shooter. All right. This is what she did right here. What do you have to say for yourself, Mrs. Nutton?
Yeah, pretty good. And when they're all in here.
Okay, I'm
I got
gonna.
more right here.
This is really good that your group's opened up a bit because I'm gonna give you some instruction. You
Guess I
ready?
got 3 right there. Yeah.
Okay, here's what I want you to do. The next time you're firing this, you're gonna slow down. Don't try to hurry. I want you to really put that front sight blade on this bullseye. Slowly press your trigger. It is more critical with a lighter weight pistol, which you're shooting with now. Slowly press the trigger, let the break take you by surprise. Take a breath, gather your sights again, do it all over. Don't hurry.
It's your head if that was your head.
You're doing good. I'm gonna see if I can get you right in there. This is trigger. This is kind of rushing on the trigger right here. Not your grip. I don't think it's your breathing. This is trigger control. Here we go.
Okay.
Let's try it again. And then you're gonna reload in between as this runs dry, okay? Here we go. Again, shooters, we want you at 5 yards when we're doing this training. And also, we always start on paper so we can really tailor and actually fine tune our fundamentals. And then we'll shoot steel if you can where you're located. Take it away. Nice, slow, easy, easy press, easy press. Choose a new target so we can see where you're hitting. Watch that front sight blade. Good, easy, easy. Good, right. Much better, slow. All right, let's go see what you did right here. How do you think you did? It looks better to me.
Yeah.
From that to that. That's trigger. Finish that one off. Right in here. Right in here. See if you can blow that black out, okay?
Okay.
Now, I did say I want you to use a reliable 22 pistol. I'll stick with that. If you have something that's unreliable and it's jamming every other shot, it sucks. Safety on?
Yep.
Good girl. It sucks. So again, watch my reviews. I'll tell you what I use as a 22 pistol trainer, like we're using with the FN 502. Go ahead. Take your time. Really watch that front sight. Do not let it bobble around. Good. Finish the whole magazine. Really nice job. That's a great group. Look at that, guys. From that to that, and those are just 2 strings of fire. How much better would she be if I ran her through 6 more magazines doing that? Which brings us to another point, by the way. Don't shoot until you're fatigued. Do just a little bit of training, whatever you guys think is good. Take a break, go get a bite to eat, relax. If you shoot for 2 hours straight, generally, in my opinion, your shot's going to start showing some opening up. Okay, great job on that. I'm going to shoot one group out of the 502 and then we're going to move to steel. Mrs. Nutnfancy went back to the P10C because she loves it so much. Shot up one of our targets, so she couldn't help herself. So we're going to be using a recycled target. Upper right, my turn on the FN 502, shooting just regular, I call it promotional 22 ammo. You know, it's the lowest price stuff, albeit copper coated hollow point. The 502's been great with it, 100% reliable. Not the most accurate stuff, but definitely good enough for what we're doing. Once again, we're going to practice on paper, then we go to steel. Upper right, and I'll tell you what, I'm going to try to shoot at the top of the circle on the upper right. I'm going to try to get the tightest group I can on the upper right of the circle, the top portion. Check it out. There's 10 shots standing, 7 yards in the desert, winter.
How do you feel about that?
I like it. I'm happy with that group. This trigger is very sensitive. So Mrs. Nutnfancy will tell you that as well. When you go to a pistol like that, it pulls very light, really easy to sling your shots, right?
Yep.
Like if you just jerk your trigger slightly, and I think that's what you were doing down here,
yep.
This is what's going to happen. You're still going to hit pretty good, but it's just going to disperse the rounds. But if you really concentrate on everything we talked about, grip, good trigger manipulation, slow pull, concentrating on the front sight, breathing, stance, with practice, you'll get that. On we go to steel. That is our large standing steel target, new shooters. We are at about 10 yards. Mrs. Nutnfancy has a 22 pistol. It is actually a Walther PPK chambered in 22 long rifle. New production gun, not the old, really expensive one. I have reviewed it. It is awesome. And she's going to be shooting that. We have multiple magazines loaded up. The only thing different about this one is that it starts out in a very long double action. It's called double action trigger pull, where you're actually going to be raising that hammer to its firing position. Then it will transition to a lighter single action pull. In this particular gun, manipulating your safety will drop the hammer only. And then you can put the safety back on like so. Don't worry about any of that stuff. If it's confusing, we're concentrating on the fundamentals. First things first, are you having fun?
Yes.
Scale to 1 to 5, how fun is this?
4.5.
Yeah, good answer. Mrs. Nutnfancy, Walther PPK 22, steel. Hard trigger pull on that one. It's really tough trigger pull. Hang on just 1 sec. I want to talk about something.
Hell.
Notice how when she's trying to pull that trigger, how the gun's kind of shaking and her sight alignment's coming off. Everything still applies. It's a lot tougher when you have a hard trigger pull, but you can still do it. Okay, so just if you can connect with steel on that really tough trigger pull and then transition to single action.
I can't even pull the frickin' trigger.
She can't pull the trigger. All right, let me see if I can.
I need...
Here we go. Let's see. Single-handed. Oh, Nutnfancy can do it. So what I'm going to do, hun, is have you just fan it to single action. That has a really rough double action trigger pull. So cock your hammer back, hun. Finger out of the trigger guard.
It is.
Yes, safe direction. Watch that finger, that trigger finger. Only in the trigger guard when you're ready to shoot. Now it's single action, you shouldn't have a problem. New mag. Pull that slide back.
Uh-oh.
This one kind of popped out a little bit, so just kind of push that round down a little bit so it'll feed. Rack that slide hard. There you go, you're ready. Now, if you guys don't know, Mrs Nutnfancy has rheumatoid arthritis. So if she can do this, you can do this. One more, hun. And then I'll finish the last mag. Just leave it on the ground. You're fine. Hard. Slam it in there. Rack that slide. Hard.
No.
There you go. Good job, Mrs. Nutnfancy. I'll give you the camera. Here you go. I got the gun. All right. Now, with ammunition being very expensive, hard to find, you might ask yourself, hey, how do I keep training? Because obviously becoming a good pistol shot is difficult. It takes practice. It takes money. Yes to almost all of the above. I don't know if it takes money if, for instance, you get a BB gun and you practice with that. A lot of the same stuff we're talking about with a semi-automatic powered CO2 BB gun can translate over to your .22 pistol, to your centerfire pistol. An airsoft gun that is semi-automatic can help you train. Those are very inexpensive to shoot. You don't need a special range. You can do it in your house. Don't forget about the BB gun training option. 22s like we're shooting right now aren't super expensive. Their availability kind of comes and goes, but 22s are a great way to hone your pistol shooting skills, to stay practiced, and then when you go shoot that expensive centerfire ammo, you're spending your time more wisely. I'll start off with double action only. We're almost done with the video. And that's all she wrote. That's how we shoot pistols in the Nutnfancy project. It's not the only way to shoot pistols. There's a lot of different ways. It's just the way we do it. Okay, remember what we talked about. Grip, stance, trigger manipulation, sight alignment, breathing. Remember all that stuff when you practice. Bring it together on paper first. If you have a place like this to shoot at, good on you. Go over to steel. It's fun. It's rewarding because you can hear your hits. This has been the Nutnfancy Project. Thank you.